Hello, everybody. My name is Lewis Lee from All Ends Media, and this is Plan and Traffic. We hold this every Thursday night live on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch. And this is where we talk about cars, boats, anything you put gas in, we talk about it. We got the fellas in the chat room. We got a special guest coming on tonight, Carl Anthony, which he is here in the house. I don't see him on the screen yet. I just want to let everybody know that the website is planandtraffic.com. So if you get a chance to go check it out, we got some previous shows on there, and we got a lot of photos from past events. Me and the bride at SEMA last year, or 2 years ago. And you can check out some of the previous shows, Heather Storm, Kev Dog, at the Martins. We got a little bit of everybody. So if you get a chance, go through, check us out on YouTube, and like, share, and subscribe so you can get all the updates and all the new stuff coming in. We'll get Carl on. Carl, I see you in the house, but no picture. Wait a minute.
Are you able to hear me, Lewis?
Yes, sir.
I am here. I'm trying to get my camera to work. So I am here. I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, good. So are you in a undisclosed location? Witness protection?
Yeah, right. That's what I feel like.
So what's going on good with you? You working on anything good?
Yes. Hold on. I may. There we go. I got my camera to work. There we go.
Right.
So sorry about that. So anyway, hey Ray.
Hey Carl, how are you?
Good. How are you? How are you guys doing? Sorry, I had camera issues here.
Doing great.
Had a few issues too, so I don't feel bad.
Yeah. I felt bad. Lewis was introducing me, and I'm like, I'm here, man. I'm here. I can hear you.
You're doing the Lewis Lee, huh?
I'm doing the Lewis Lee. Yeah, right. I mean, I got a long way to go.
No, you gotta get some grays going.
I gotta get some grays. Yeah. So I thought, hey, it was great. I'm growing my beard out like Lewis. So I thought, well, when you texted me, Lewis, I thought, well, you'll be glad to see this.
Are you moving to like the Dakotas or Montana? You'll starting to look a little mountain manish there.
Yeah, I got the quarantine beard going here,
Cool.
Hey, no more
Of course, we have Brian who grows a beard overnight, like Rob Leonard, the guy at the radio station. It's freaking phenomenal.
Yeah, I ate too many vegetables.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's my line.
Got it.
When a guy hands me a broken tool, I say, "Hey, easy on the vegetables, dude."
Listen, Mike Cotton hasn't been on the show since then. Since I said that to him.
Really?
Oh, it's too much.
So, Carl, what's good in the automotive? Have you heard anything about the chips that I guess we can't get here for some reason?
Yeah, that's affecting everything. From my vantage point, with a lot of the advanced safety technology that goes into the automobiles today. So all of your blind spot monitoring, your adaptive cruise control, your various advanced safety technologies all rely on semiconductors. They all rely on those. And if there's a shortage of that, then production of vehicles can't happen for all of these advanced safety and connectivity features. And one of the things when I worked at Ford, we would see this a lot, but I was over in the product development and benchmarking side when I was with Ford, and we spent a great deal of time in the assembly plants doing projects with different teams there. So we spent a lot of time at Dearborn Truck. We spent a lot of time at Chicago Assembly Plant where they build the Explorer, a lot of time down in Kentucky. And what you eventually learn is that even though these trucks are big or these vehicle lines are super profitable, a very small component, if it's missing, can shut a whole assembly line down. You can't build a vehicle without it. So and you'd see every once in a while, like here in Detroit, you get a really bad winter storm, and so they can't build anything around here because the supply lines are, the trucks are stuck in Ohio that have the components. So,
but Carl, let me ask you this.
Yeah,
I understand all that, but I also understand, there's stock of things, and there's like chips. I mean, we're talking about EPROMs and EEPROMs that are, it's just produced and it's written to, in another place. I have a hard time wrapping my head around a shortage of something like that, which is like saying, jelly beans.
right.
Like that's what they are. You get like a case of jelly beans, and then you make them I don't know. Please, enlighten me on that, because I having an electronic background, and knowing like the quantities of things that are around,
Right.
It boggles my mind. I don't get it.
From what I can tell, from what I gather, some of it stems from the freighter ship that was stuck in the canal in Egypt. So there was some of that. And I don't know how much relationship there is between the chip shortage and then even like the vehicle shortage that you're seeing, where dealers can't get, cars in and things like that. I don't know, Ray. That's a good. You're right. Yeah, like jelly beans. So is it as big? Like, is this going to go as long as we think, or is? I
mean, and now we're looking at all these trucks. So you mean to? I mean, not you, but they mean to tell us that these trucks were all built and produced without the ECM in them, and they roll down the road. I mean,
I've seen what I have on the screen now is in Kentucky. They have them all at the Speedway.
Yeah,
and they said that everything is there except for the little chip. Once they get the chip, they install it and they can roll.
Okay, so what that says is the ECM is in, but the chip isn't installed.
Right.
And I'll tell you this: back in the 80s and 90s, chips were removable from the board because that's how you modified your computer. You changed the chip.
Right.
These things are all surface mount technology now. These things are mounted on the board at the time of manufacture. You're not going in there and putting a surface mount chip in that thing, unless that board would go back to a manufacturer of circuit boards.
Well, unless they're plugging in an ECM.
Unless the ECM is out, like I said in the first place, right?
They can take, like, now you're saying, well, how do they get those trucks there or whatever? I mean, back in our day, when at the dealer, when we had a security module problem or a key problem, whatever, I mean, we had one ECM with the security password on there, and then we plug that into any car, and then we can use the key to go with it.
Wow!
Because
think of moving that many trucks with one ECM.
Well, I would imagine they probably have more than just one, or they towed them all there or whatever. But I'm with you, Ray. I find it hard to believe, other than the sheer stupidity of somebody some bean counter counting nuts and bolts and saying, well, we're only going to order 50 of them when they have a 10% fail rate. So now they're down to 45 and they're waiting for other ones. And I just, this whole world has come around about counting down to the nth degree of nickels and dimes it's a joke.
This is where John comes in. This is where, and I say it all the time. I said, look, I'm going to talk to John about this because they say, John who? I said, don't worry. He's a guy I know. John will know. Now you get into, like, if we weren't in such a small microcosm of Ford trucks in Kentucky, there'd be conspiracy theories all over the internet already.
Right.
I want to know what those conspiracy theories are. Like, what's
the Ford by me has an almost empty lot.
Mm-hmm.
There's like almost nothing there, and I'm noticing a lot of ads on TV from other dealerships, not just Ford, where they're looking to claw back your used car.
Oh, up here too. My buddy at work just he's got a bunch of Chevrolets, trucks, and SUVs, and the used market. He made more trading his vehicle in. Yeah. He made like thousands of dollars on his used vehicle that he applied to a new one. So it's that is true. That's true up here too, John.
Thank God.
Yeah,
I got
well,
my
that's,
GMC before the pandemic.
What's that used car? The guy about put your VIN in or VIN.com. You know, you just put your VIN. John, what's that guy's name? John something. He has a radio show. I mean, he's buying cars left and used cars, and he's paying way over everybody. He's blowing everybody away because he's saying that secondary market is just going to go through the roof again.
Well, tell me who he is, because I got a car I want to sell and I haven't. It hasn't been moving.
It's givemethevin.com. That's the one. You type in your VIN, and 30 seconds they'll shoot you a quote on the car. And if you send him, like if you took your car to CarMax, and he'll beat it by $100, if not more. I mean, if he can't beat it, he'll send you $100.
Will they give me, $100,000 for a vintage 70 Pontiac Firebird 400?
No.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying that this guy.
John, you don't want to be sending those VINs to anybody. Let's put it that way, all right? Let's just. They stay in what's in the garage stays in that garage, right?
Hey,
now.
Look, you got lucky. Hey, you got lucky and got your car back. You might not be able to do that the second time. So.
Yeah. No, neither of these two cars are going anywhere.
Is my microphone working tonight?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
you guys got it. Yes, sir.
Yep.
So I was watching this video about these Fords being at the Speedway, and they said this isn't the only place they have them. They're doing it all over the country.
Right. There's
Toyota and GM are still having problems too.
Yeah.
In fact, GM decided to take whatever module out of the car, and you get 1 mile per gallon less. Big deal,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But some people want all this stuff in the cars.
Right. Right.
Park the car in the garage.
Well, the biggest problem is when the car went through the DOT or National Transportation Guidelines, and now they can't change them because they were approved at this way, and now they can't go back because, God forbid that you changed anything without, somebody watching you.
Right.
So you got to watch in that. And once they get all that involved, once you get them involved, it's a 3-ring circus after that.
Yeah.
I'm sure the United Auto Workers Union can put their thumb on that deal.
I don't know. You asked Cadillac when they had the North Star and they tried to change without letting the federal government. Or there's been a few people that have tried to change stuff without. Unless.
We're in a different situation now, though.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. What?
You got
Biden's in office.
Use the pandemic as an excuse.
Blaming a Biden.
Blame it on. But no, he'll just blame it on Trump.
Yeah. They'll just keep pointing the finger around in circles.
Yeah, of course.
But that's the only other problem they're going to have. They're not going to be able to change.
Just to come back to this, to say that there's a microchip shortage to me is like saying there's a 16-gauge wire shortage.
Where did these microchips come from? I thought they all came from California.
No, well, Japan. There was back in November. There was a plant that burnt down, and then there was another plant somewhere in Japan or somewhere like a month and a half ago. They had a big fire that totally
pretty convenient, huh?
But what's funny is when you make something, it literally takes 90 days till it gets here in the country. So prior to this fire, where's all the other stuff? Because I'm in car audio. Alpine, for instance, CarPlay radios. Every CarPlay radio out there uses some type of a chip.
Right.
And I understand there's other manufacturers, but it's like specific companies make them for radio companies, and now you got to totally redesign the radio if you got to start from scratch. Well, for instance, Alpine, they won't even do orders for certain model radios. They won't take any orders because they have like thousands on back order. And until all those go through, you can't even order it. And all the good companies, JVC, Kenwood, Alpine, Sony, what am I missing? Pioneer.
I know the Pioneer.
Shipping until at least the end of July.
I knew the Pioneer I'm looking at is, I've been reading it. It's out of stock. And, Scott, do you get involved with sales at all? Or I
do sales and installation.
I'm looking to do a system in my FJ, and I want to put something together, and I figured a package deal is the way to go.
Of course, this is the worst time to buy anything because, for instance, like I was just saying, all these brands you can't get anything. The only
Right.
brands that I can get my hands on are Boss and Dual, all these no-name China crap stuff. I don't want to touch it. You're best to wait if you can.
I'll
But
start
we
with
don't
the
know. It could be
speakers.
3, 4, 5 months before we start seeing stuff again.
Listen, I'll start with the speakers. And the reason I'll do that is I got to take the left door apart. I've had it apart 3 times already. I don't want to take it apart 5 times. When I take it apart to put the speakers in, that's when I'm going to do the door latch assembly. So I want to do it one more time. So I'll
the
start
door
with
lock actuator is bad in the latch.
No, I fixed that already. I changed that already. That was one of the times I had it apart. No, the actual, they call it the door. It's they call it a weird name. It's the piece that actually detents the door when you open it, so it doesn't.
The check rod.
It's a check pull.
Yeah,
that's bad. And I bought a new one. I got the part, but then I looked into how to change it, and you have to access it from inside the door with the panel off. So when I do the speakers, I'll do that. But
right,
I'll do it one more time, and that's it. But I want to do. I'll start with the speaker package because I want to change all of them. Change the whole.
I can't even get my hands on anything good.
No,
I have a local distributor who sells Kenwood, Alpine, Kicker, Memphis, Dual, like 9 different brands. Rockford, they have Boss brand 6x9s, and that's all they have. All the other brands are out of stock. It's just crazy. I get customers coming in wanting to do systems. I'm like, I got nothing.
Right.
All right. So I guess I'm still hitting people's doors then. That's all.
It's awful. Unless you go Crutchfield, but they buy hundreds of thousands of stuff, and you'll find something.
I know.
Whatever happened to Blaupunk?
Blah junk. No.
Talk to that guy next to me. Whatever side he's on for you, I don't know him. I got a shed full of Blaupunk.
Yeah.
I ran some Blaupunk back in the day.
I got a bunch of them, man. I got a whole.
I had one a long time ago, but I forget which one it was. They had some they were like named after cities or something.
Yeah. Memphis, Boston, Dallas, New York, LA, Los Angeles.
Is MTX still around? That's a name. MTX. Yeah.
They kind of changed though because they used to be like direct. And they decided to do some weird thing where you can only buy through distributors. And then they did something where you had to buy it direct through the company and it would be drop shipped to the retailer or something. They did a lot of weird stuff. I used to be a MTX dealer back in late 80s, early 90s.
Okay.
And the product is not what it used to be. It used to be made in America, most of the stuff. Now, like everybody's, it's all made overseas somewhere.
Right. I remember, 20 years ago, last time I really had like a decent car audio system, it seemed like it was, JBL, Orion, Rockford, MTX, like that. Those were kind of the brands.
API.
Yes. Thank you. That was the other one I couldn't remember. Yeah. That was the kind of the brands that all they got. And then Memphis was around then, I want to say. They had kind of I don't remember the logo. I can just see the logo in my head now. It was like or
something, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was blue, and and then you could do. Shows you how far removed I am from car audio. But back like when I was really into it, there were ported boxes, band pass boxes, and then there was something. There was like a ported. There was some combination thereof of a ported and a band pass. Man, that was fun. I miss
a fourth order ported or something like that.
Yeah. I miss car audio. I just I ended up.
Yeah, growing up.
Yeah,
I got to disagree, Lewis. I think I'm an audiophile. I've always been an audiophile all my life, and maybe there were times where it wasn't as prevalent in my life, but it always comes back. Yeah. And to hear good music through good speakers, through a good system, it's something you never forget. It's like, if you play music or, if you have an affinity for good tools, you get one in your hand. It's like, this is the right thing to have in my hand.
But you know what happened? They got away from the junk from the factory and started putting in name brand stuff.
Yeah, they started putting very good stuff. You're right. That's very good.
Mercedes-Benz has like 14 speakers in it.
Yeah, it's like a Harman Kardon system or whatever.
Yeah. exactly.
My daughter's Stratus had a Harman Kardon system in it,
And it's ridiculous because you can make it crazy loud, and it's got all these different modes. And
Yeah.
just by it's got she's got like a center console, like a knurled knob that you can you push it, turn it. It does all kinds of stuff. But you can make the car sound like a concert hall.
Yeah.
It actually puts in reverb to the rear speakers. I mean, it's like it's insanity.
And she listens to AM radio, right?
No, she
AM
listens to
stereo?
Sirius XM.
Yeah. No,
So,
good
I don't know
audio
what's
is
in. I forget what's in the my GMC.
Bose.
Bose,
It's Bose. Yeah, it's. I mean, it's insane.
I had a Bose system in my Mazda 3.
Yeah.
It was pretty
good.
cool. It was
So the
very
front door
good.
speakers go bad, they start rattling, and you can't replace them with anything but factory.
You're right. I got
yeah.
one that's making a little noise, and it was like it's worse when I listen to AM. In fact, because I guess the frequencies with FM or other stuff, it isn't as bad. The Toyota has a great system in it, but I just know that I just want to change things. It to me, what happens at lower volume, it doesn't turn on as fast. You got to really, when you turn it up and crank it, the thing is fantastic. It's got a factory subwoofer, and it's really good. But at low volume, I'm not happy with it. I want a more responsive speaker. So.
Well, and one of the things, like with this conversation, I want to pick your guys' brain on this, is that it used to be you would get a lot of that stuff aftermarket. You would get a stereo aftermarket, and I had trucks for years. I had Ford trucks and Chevy trucks for years. And the first thing you would do is you'd get a tonneau cover, you'd get a bed liner, you'd get box rails, you'd get Nerf bars, right? And then they started doing like chrome packages and different packages. And then all of that stuff was on the truck, and it's the same with car stereos too. So I wonder how much the aftermarket has suffered, because of that, because it's just all included now from the factory.
Factories decided we're going to get greedy.
Yes.
And we're going to put in the stuff that you would go buy.
Yep.
And we're going to make your motor inaccessible to you, that it has to go to the dealer. The big three, or I don't know, all of the major companies, they don't want you to do anything.
Right.
Give me your money.
Yep.
And then when this thing's dead, come get another one.
That's true, John, and I agree with you on a lot of that. But I got to say, like, as far as the sound systems go, I think it's a good thing. They did a great. They stole that part of the market away from the aftermarket.
They did.
But they gave you a fair product in replacement. And the thing where they really killed the aftermarket is when you need the factory radio to do diagnostics.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now there's a problem.
Right.
Yeah. That's a biggie.
So what do you guys feel about then? So this is something that came to mind. Jeep has started doing this, and actually a lot of trucks, they're starting to do lift kits from the factory, factory lift kits now. So you order a package, and out your Jeep or your truck comes with a factory lift or bigger tires and a warranty to match. Yeah. Now that's normally something you would have done aftermarket.
Yep.
It's the same kind of thing.
Chevy and GMC, they're running ads now about their off-road packages.
Yep.
My truck from the factory, it's 4-wheel drive. It's lifted right out of the box to the point where I had to go by side steps because I couldn't get in and out of it. And and it's got Rancho shocks.
It's not really a new.
So if the shock takes a dive, it's real easy to go to any auto parts store and get another Rancho shock to put in.
It's not a new thing, because even I found out now through learning about Toyotas. The 08s, even the FJ I have, there was the TRD package that was from the factory. An off-road package gave you different suspension, different shocks, different brakes. Yeah. So they were doing that, back in the early O's. That's a
Black Widow.
Yeah.
From the factory, brand new GM truck.
Mm-hmm. Steve Magnante calls that dead cat storage. That's what he calls that area over the tire. Like to me, I like it dropped. I like to see something
that's higher than my truck.
Yeah.
I don't have that much space between the tire and the fender.
Right. Every time I go out to my truck, I look at it and I see that space over the tires. I'm like, oh, I hate the way that looks. Except I blacked out everything. Everything's powder coated in black. But then when I get in it, I'm like, oh, that's cool now. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't see it. It doesn't.
I love my truck, and it's taller. It's the tallest. Well, I guess it's taller than the Blazer I used to have because that had 33s on it. But I mean, it's big. You know, the new Chevys and the GMCs, they're wider than they used to be out of the factory. It's like somebody along the line said, measure the width of a Hummer and measure the width of a Chevy Silverado or a GMC, and let's go somewhere in between the two.
Yeah.
Because when I lay, I have big tires all around from the factory. When I lay a sheet of plywood in there, I have about 3.5 to 4 inches on either side of the sheet of plywood between the fender wells.
That's a lot.
It's just like Jim said in the chat here, you know, like these new trucks are huge, and it's like a 1500 series truck was the size of what an HD truck was 20 some years ago.
Right.
You know, so
my GMC is much wider than the last truck I owned. And when I pull into a parking space, I mean, like I have to look for a place to park. Even though it's a regular truck, it's a 2500 HD. It takes up so much damn space. I mean, a dually is only slightly wider than my truck. You know, just have it with the dually fenders, but they're big. Everything's huge. I mean, it's like America likes big fat stuff, and that's back in style now.
There was a survey a couple years ago, and I can't remember who did it. I'll think of it in a second, but it was in 2019. The people who did the survey, I don't know if it was JD Power or who did it, but they asked new truck owners, look, you've paid a high MSRP. You've paid a lot of money for this truck. Do you believe it's worth it? And a majority of the respondents said no, or were unsure. So and kind of the basis was, again, this study is saying, look, if you're paying all this money for these, I think it was trucks and SUVs. So the automakers say, look, you're paying this money. There's more capability. There's more power. There's more performance. There's more features. So they asked consumers and said, hey, well, do you think that's true? Do you think that, and a lot of consumers said, I don't know. I spent 60, 70 grand. I mean, it's a great vehicle, but I'm not sure that it's worth that. Right.
Right.
So, and then they take into account the fact that, they get one of these new trucks or SUVs, and then a check engine light comes on within like the first 3 months of ownership. So some of the survey respondents were like, I forked over 65 grand for this thing, and within 6 months, I have a check engine light for something that, on a brand new truck, and they can't tell me what's wrong with it. Right. So
yeah, that's not good. I got to say, my truck's 1.5 years old now. Bought it brand new. Has not given me, knock on wood, a second worth of issues.
Right.
And it's got features that no other truck that I've ever owned had. When I throw this thing into towing mode, it changes the shift points.
Yeah, tow haul. Yep.
It does automatic like deceleration through the transmission. When you lift off the gas, it's like taking a regular automatic and throwing it down a gear. You feel it. You move forward in the truck because the transmission is slowing the truck down.
Right.
The cameras that are all around it, the fact that I can program, I think like 10 different trailer combinations, and there's just so much that it's doing. If I plug in a trailer plug, it automatically senses that it's there, and it asks. It goes through the menu, and it says
brake controller on its own when you're going down.
Right, and it says, "Is this the Tahoe trailer?"
Yes.
I have a Tahoe boat.
Right.
You hit yes, and then on the screen there's a light test. You just hit the button, and you walk to the back of the trailer, and you'll see brake lights, turn signals, regular driving lights, all go through that, and then it asks, is everything okay? And you just click yes or no. I mean, there's just so much stuff that this truck does, heated and air conditioned seats. The climate control is phenomenal. You hit sync, and the temperature is the same on both sides, or you can make it different. I keep it locked at a certain temperature. So depending on what's going on with the weather here, it'll cycle through the heater or through the AC, and it keeps the truck at the same temperature. You know,
Right.
there's just so much going on inside this truck. Rear AC coming out from under the seats, and then there's vents in the console. There's just a lot going on, and I'm like, you know what? For the money I spent, I got a lot of trucks.
Sure. Well, like Papa Squirrel said in the chat, give it 10 years, you know, and I'm like,
I don't keep this stuff 10 years.
Right. But Papa Squirrel, 10 years, I'd be afraid to see what they cost in 10 years.
Yeah.
Because the MSRP now, you know, is
65.
It's crazy. I mean, even, you know, I think you can get Super Duty combinations, the HD, the Super Duty, the heavy duty trucks for Ford that are pushing $100,000.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so I'm like,
Absolutely.
I grew up in a small rural farming community, you know, and I don't know anybody back in the area that I grew up that has that kind of money who's farming for a truck like that, you know. So
No,
now
I can't see how they justify $100,000 pickup truck.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Right.
There's no way.
It's pretty close. It's like I actually a couple of years ago when Ford announced this new Super Duty, I actually did kind of like a pricing thing, and I got one like $96,000. You know, now granted, like that was excessive and stuff, but you know, even just going and looking at the average Super Duty, you're probably $70,000 in, right?
Oh, sure.
You know, so
Absolutely.
that's probably like your minimum cost of entry if you want a diesel engine. Yes, it does all the stuff, but like Papa Squirrel saying, man, give it 10 years, and I don't know, you know, and then if there's a chip shortage and everything else, and they can push the price up, and you know what I mean, because hey, you got to have the computer chips to do all of the cool things we're talking about, you know.
I want to see
I
what's going to
think-
happen. Now, all of them, all the big three, all the major manufacturers, they all said they're all going to go electric.
Yeah, that is true. That
Okay,
will
so
happen.
they're pushing us towards that.
Yep.
We don't have the infrastructure to support that whatsoever. And I can't, unless they make some insane major breakthroughs, I can't see electric trucks working. I just can't see it. I know you got the torque instantly, the whole 9 yards. The problem is range
Yep.
and the ability to fast charge.
Yeah, and weather, you know, because if you have to tow through the desert, right, which, you know, like I've done before, like going from Phoenix to LA,
Yeah.
you know, it does, pulling a trailer, like you do see a significant decrease in fuel economy, you know, especially if it's 110 degrees in the middle of California. However, you know, you can stop, you can refuel. So, you know, I'm like, man, with an EV truck, you know, same thing with an EV. If you have the air conditioner on, if you have the radio on, if you have the navigation going, like you're going to use the power capacity. And then if you're towing, so it's like for some use cases, like electrified vehicles are fine right now. Like if you drive under 40 miles a day or 50 miles a day, or it's to work and back or whatever. But if you're a heavy tower and you have a camper, yeah, no, the electric vehicle does nothing for you right now anyway.
Yeah.
Now, how is the electric going to work with different temperatures, like the heat or cold?
It's very similar to an internal combustion engine, where that if you're driving an internal combustion engine during hot weather or during cold weather, you're bound to get less fuel economy. If you're driving aggressively with an internal combustion engine, you're going to get less fuel economy. With electric vehicles, it's almost the same way, right? It's almost the exact same thing. So the more electronics that are running, the faster you're driving. You know, that's why they have systems like the one pedal braking and the regenerative braking, because there's a link between hard braking and a loss in efficiency and a loss in fuel economy. So,
Right.
you know, and same thing, like when you're driving an SUV or a truck and, you know, you have it loaded up, you've got your luggage in there, you've got your cargo, you've got all your friends and family for a weekend trip. Yeah, when you have a Tahoe or a Suburban or an Expedition or whatever loaded to capacity, it's going to get less fuel economy than if it were just you driving by yourself, right? So now if you add weight to all these electric vehicles with passengers and occupants, yeah, it has an effect on the charging. And, the current ratings that are out there, whether they're in Europe or the United States, they work exactly the same as fuel economy ratings. It's just a range. It's just an estimation. And your driving habits and the weather and the load and what the vehicle is subjected to will ultimately change efficiency.
One of the things I don't understand, but it's probably that deal where you would say, well, it's point of no return.
Right.
Why can't they add to the armature, the electric motor, its own charging system? In other words, an alternator that's all built, a generator that's all built into that motor.
You can't.
So as soon as that motor is spinning, it's putting power back into the battery.
I think Mazda might try that with some of their new EVs coming up. So their rotary engine, Mazda's rotary engine, in some of their new EVs coming up, they have proposed the idea that they're going to have a rotary engine on board, but it doesn't power the drive wheels. Its purpose is to assist the battery. So now, whether it recharges the battery or it just assists the battery so more energy is conserved, I think that's where you're going to get into. Like right now, I would say the early version of that technology is the mild hybrid systems that you're seeing. So like, and Ram does this, Mercedes-Benz does this, but they offer a boost of power, like a horsepower boost up to like whatever, 20 seconds or 30 seconds. And that helps reduce the capacity, that helps take the strain away from the battery. But I think there's a move to do that. Mazda with the rotary engine is really kind of, where it's just there to assist powering the battery, but doesn't touch the wheels at all.
My thought was, remember back in the day when you had your bicycle and you had the light on it and you pushed you pushed the thing on the wheel.
Yeah.
Well, you're already rolling. Why haven't they came up with that? I mean, is that
what John says is just simplistically brilliant. And if you think back to early days of combustion engines, when cars had generators, and then of course an alternator, that's exactly what it did. That was a self-sustaining electrical system in the car, so that you wouldn't drive on the battery and then run out of power. It's exactly what it was, and it's exactly what it is today, because we have alternators, that do the same thing. So
the battery is technically just there to start the car. So what I'm thinking is, why can't they do a system like that? Yes, you're still going to use the battery, but you should never get to the point where you need to just be completely dead and charge the car for 12 hours.
And that's like what regenerative braking does. I would braking puts it back in. But you're right. Now, what the electrical engineer has to look at is the power used that's drawn off the electric motor to run the generator. What's the draw as opposed to how much you can put back in, and it has to be the right ratio, or else it doesn't pay to do it.
Just like on a top fuel car, they for the amount of boost that they make, they're talking about it's somewhere in the vicinity of 2,500 to 3,000 horsepower,
right, to
turn the blower at the top end.
Right.
So you're literally throwing 3,000 horsepower out the window on the top end.
Right.
Because
if it got you there the right amount of time, it doesn't matter.
That much boost creates that much internal pressure in the motor that these rotors do not want to spin.
Right.
And it takes that much horsepower, which you got to say kudos to Goodyear and Gates belts. In order to be able to withstand that kind of abuse,
Hell yeah. And something that I questioned Billy Lynch on his top fuel, his AAFD motor. Some guys, and I see it was done both ways. Running that blower belt, which I would do, where only smooth surfaces touch like idlers, but like his belt, the teeth run on the idler. I'm like, Billy, why are the teeth not running on cars? It's running on the idler. He goes, well, that's
for a while they used to do it the other way.
Yeah, he said that's the system we used back then. I said, yeah, but it's kind of counterintuitive. He goes, well, I know. He goes, but remember, this is a recreation. This is the way we did it. So he goes, let's not have this argument. Like, all right, good enough. But I noticed that and said, boy, that's kind of stupid, running the teeth over a smooth surface. But whatever.
It's weird. But you could there's probably some sort of coefficient of drag that's reduced because each tooth is less surface area as it goes by than the smooth side of the belt.
True. Well,
You're gonna have a contact patch area.
Yeah.
You know, and it's something like that. I mean, you got to put it in context. You're not talking about something that's going to be in service for 100,000 miles. That belt could be changed next week.
They get like I think they said it's like 5 runs out of a belt and then they just throw them away.
Right.
You know, well, pistons and all of that stuff in top fuel is replaceable.
Half the motor.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah. It's absolutely insane.
And it's all for our enjoyment.
Yes,
This is true.
absolutely.
So I got to tell you, from a service perspective, and I do have a car question that came in out of the cloud that I got to get to. We got a couple Audis in the shop this week, and a Porsche that I sent Brian a picture of. Nice Porsche.
Beautiful.
I like that car. And they're probably going to total it. It's
really
probably gonna get totaled. Yeah.
Really?
Well, it was a nose hit. The guy hit like a little barrier. It was maybe like a 2 or 3 foot tall thing that he just tapped, but it blew the airbag. And once the bag goes, it's a 97. You know.
Yeah, 97. But at least that one has separate harnesses. The earlier airbags on the German cars were solid single one piece. So when you trip something, you had to replace the brain and the whole harness throughout the whole car and all the sensors because they were all hardwired. They didn't want to have any kind of issue. So that's what totaled all those old ones, because once you had to get the whole harness, you were done.
Continuing on with German stupidity, these Audis, the guy that my Guyana friend who does the body work, he calls me over yesterday. He's like, "Great, come here, look at this. Because I'm trying to just take the mirror off the right door, and there was some bolts, and there were 2 bolts that go through the skin. Like, okay, good enough, but it was the most convoluted thing. He says, "Now how do I disconnect this?" So I'm looking at the harness. It runs down and it piggybacks onto the power window harness that goes down to a set of plugs that goes into the power window motor. The mirror plugs into the power window motor. So we're trying to get these plugs out, and we can't figure out how to release the clip. So I said to him, "Derek, what we got to do is you got to take these 3 Torx out. We got to take the power window motor off to get." The release clips are on the inside facing the door. So you have to take the motor off to release the stupid clips. Whose idea was that?
Engineers.
Yeah, but I know, but
they don't say.
Look at the North Star motor. You got to take the intake off, change the starter. I mean, how dumb is that?
Well, and then Brian, he finally used those long Torx drivers that you sold him about 6 months ago. He says, "Look, I had to take the headlight out." He goes, "I couldn't get it out. There was a hidden screw and it was just a hole in the radiator support, not marked. It should have had arrows like this, and you went down like 8 inches to the screw, and that's when that." He says, tell Matt Goban those drivers are absolutely necessary on Audis.
But on some of those cars, on some of the Audis and all that stuff, you don't take the door off from the inside. You take the door off from the outside. You take the door skin off.
Oh, really?
The door skin comes off, and that's why it's all mounted right there, and you're going in from that way.
Another great idea.
So that's what Saturn, right? And also like on Boxsters and what was the other one? You actually took the door off the car that had the main plug. That main plug for the wiring harness, you went from the door, took 2 pins, and you pulled the door up off, or 2 bolts out.
I'm playing with old cars till the day I die.
So
I'm sorry.
A lot of those things, when you do a door, like a window regulator or a door casing, you had to take from the outside off to go into. And that's why that motor's the other way around, because you're going from the wrong angle.
Yeah,
right.
Well,
you're going from the wrong side.
Luckily,
you're one of those backdoor guys, huh? Yeah, now I see.
Luckily, there were 3 screws to remove that motor, or else we would have been screwed.
Yeah. Now you would have been scratching your head until you did what everybody else does and go to YouTube and become a YouTube professional mechanic. And then say, take the door all apart. So then you're like, holy crap.
But he did want me to tell you he did want me to tell you that the long Torx, it was absolutely necessary. I did find out from a friend that when the new headlight goes in, it has to be learned into the car. It has to be programmed So I don't know. They've got to see if they have the technology to do
Well,
that.
actually, it's going to be real difficult now. It will go in and work, okay, because of our government making things not so it can. You'll plug it in and it'll work. But if it had any kind of LEDs, like when you turn the turn signal and it goes on off or whatever,
Right.
that all has to be programmed. Other than that, you can make it work, but to make it work like how the factory did, it's got to be programmed.
So interestingly enough, the headlight and the door mirror are total nightmares. But we went around the back of the car. You can pull a taillight out with one thumb screw, boom, and the whole taillight comes out. Like, oh, good.
Right. You know, when I was a service advisor, I used to be a Cadillac service advisor. This was in 2012 when the Cadillac SRX came out with the redesign. You know,
Right.
and it was to change the fog lamps was not just like it used to be on a Pontiac or a Saturn, and you could just do it in the quick lube and you know, you're in and you're out. But the whole front fascia had to come off. Like, I mean, this was, you know, and that was really that was one of the first times. Even all of us at the dealership, all of the techs went, "You've got to be kidding me," because we were so used to, if somebody had a burned out headlight, we were so used to just doing it in the quick lube. Like while the guys were, you know, doing the oil in lower bay, while they were doing the washer fluid, you know, on those older GM cars, it wasn't much you could literally do it there, but we didn't have the tools. And frankly, the guys in quick lube didn't have the expertise to rip the whole front fascia off. So, you know, we'd have to get creative. You know, we'd have to send it, you know, to the back to a technician. But that was the first time we're like, man, if we ever see that, we can't change that one in quick lube because of what it required. And it had something to do with the design of the vehicle. It just wasn't. This was not readily.
All right, Carl. So speaking of Cadillac, my good friend Billy G, he asked me to ask somebody if Cadillac is producing a 2-door coupe. Is the Eldorado coming back? Yeah, I guess he heard word that the Eldo is coming back, but are they going to be making a 2-door coupe?
No,
that you know of.
Not that I know of. And I think if you look at Cadillac's current product lineup, the answer is probably definitely not. Because the Eldorado would be a bigger car, and Cadillac has already axed the CT6. Cadillac has already said, look, CT6, the bigger cars, we just can't compete. Now, whether that's against the BMW 7 Series, the Mercedes-Benz S-Class, the Genesis G90, I don't know. I'm not privy to that information from Cadillac, but it seems like they cannot make a go at it with these big cars. I think that if you look at the recent SUVs that Cadillac has come out with the last couple of years, like the XT4, XT5, XT6, like Cadillac's kind of made it clear in so many words that SUVs are profitable. Everybody's buying crossovers. That's where the money's at. That's the hot segment. So that's where they're going. And then they're doing the redesign of the seat. Well, the redesign is done, but they're really pushing the CT4 and CT5. Which are their two kind of, and they've got a couple different trim levels. They got a premium luxury. If you want traditional Cadillac, then they have a sportier version, and then they have the V Series versions, and then they have the Blackwing cars. Now the Blackwing cars, the CT4, CT5 Blackwing, those cars are rumored to be the last V8 gasoline-powered muscle sports cars from Cadillac. So, yep, that's kind of word on the street. Cadillac has kind of said that like in so many words, but not really. But it seems like the next like really powerful Cadillac sedan, like performance, like V-Series car, is probably going to be electrified versus internal combustion. So I can't see them bringing back the Eldorado in their current product portfolio. And I think I think the Continental was a really good example. Like Lincoln here in Detroit a few years ago at NAIS unveiled the Continental to some great fanfare, but big cars just don't for whatever, like BMW and Mercedes can do it, but for some reason the Americans just can't.
See, I think when they brought back the Lincoln, they should have put the suicide doors on it. I think that would have been a hot seller.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Right.
you know,
Modern retro.
yeah, yep. I seen. I was at the dealership. My wife wrecked her XRX.
Yeah.
So we're looking for a new vehicle. So we were at the Ford dealership, and I seen a new Mustang electric SUV.
The Mach-E,
Yeah.
Yep.
Man, that thing is a nice looking vehicle, man. Have you seen them?
Yep.
And they are quick.
Yeah, that's what the dealer was saying. My
They
buddy
are
is saying they're really, really fast.
Now they also make electric one just like the regular Mustang body.
Oh, do they?
No,
Because
I haven't seen that.
That's
The
what
front's different.
that was the pace. That's been the pace car at the last couple of NASCAR races.
Oh.
They said the electric Mustang, and I said that's not a Mach-E, and it was a regular Mustang, but they said it was electric.
Wow.
So
I was working on our favorite
I didn't know
Mustang
if you knew.
yesterday, and a guy comes in the shop and he was talking to another fella, and he says, "Hey, wait, great old car. That's cool. Is that what is that? A Mach 1, a Mach 2?" So from inside the car under the dash,
Mach
I yelled out,
5.
"No, it's a Mach 5, you moron." Mach 2. The hell?
Hey,
You're right up on your Mustang trivia.
I love Mustangs. I was partial to the 5-liter in 2011 because it was when I first got into the car business in 2009, the first Ford Mustang I ever sold was a 2011 5-liter. It was one of the first 2011 5-liters that our dealership got. So it's hard for me. Like I get it. I get the electrification, but I just the 2011 5-liter again. Like I was new to the car business. I really didn't. I was still learning. And I love the 5-liter, love the sound of it. It was always a special car to me. So I'm like, I don't know that I could do an electric Mustang. I get it. Nothing against them, but I'm a 5-liter guy at the end of the day.
you gotta have that
I like
down.
a 67 2+2 fastback myself.
Right.
That's where I go with a Mustang, but that's
Yeah.
about it.
Hey, I ran into a lady the other day, and she had a 2000. I want to say a 2011 or 12 Cadillac 2-door electric.
The ELR, maybe.
And it might be.
Yeah.
It was all electric. I didn't even know they made them back then.
They did. Quite
Electric.
like so, and there at the same time there was a hybrid Silverado and GMC Sierra too.
Right.
Yep. There has been some of that over the years with GM, like kind of having these little pockets of electrified vehicles. Prior to, I'd have to check my timeline, so don't quote me on this, but prior to the arrival of the Chevy Volt, or right around that same time. And this gets into the battle of who had the technology first, Toyota or General Motors, because a lot of people, media especially, says that the Prius, and Prius is a great car, but says that the Prius was first. And if you really look at the timelines, actually General Motors was first with a lot of that technology prior to the
EV1.
Prius. Yep, the EV1. Except that the Prius
Saw
took
that car.
over as the media darling, and
Well,
and here we are.
I think that has to do with mass produce.
Yes,
It's kind of like going way back to when Henry Ford, the first he gets classified as being the first automobile, but really
Sure.
he's not the first automobile
no, not at all.
that was out
By
there.
a
Not,
long shot.
No, I know that, but I'm just saying that's the how they want to write the history book,
Yeah.
So,
Right.
and of course, when they write the history book, they always leave out the little asterisk about it's just because it was mass produced or
Yep.
assembled in this way or whatever. So I think that's why there's an issue
Yep.
on that, because if you really want to think about it, Porsche had an electric car back in 39 or something.
Yeah. There were.
He had all four wheels had electric motors on it with little chains, and they were all driving down the cobblestone. So again, the technology has been played with throughout the history of the automobile.
Sure.
It's just how the media wants to write the history for us to believe.
Right.
So,
and
that's my 2 cents on that.
You know, you can extrapolate that right to history itself, the history books about.
Yes.
I mean, that's a topic for another podcast, but
Sure.
I think we all know.
You know, Bob Lutz has a really good book called Car Guys versus Bean Counters, where he talks a lot about this. And Bob Lutz actually addresses the Chevy Volt versus Toyota Prius, and exactly how you're saying, like, what are the caveats of being produced here and what? But Bob Lutz in that book says that at the time, Toyota lost money on every single Prius they made. They basically wrote it off as advertising. So rather than spend $300 million, I think that's the number Bob Lutz gives, rather than spend $300 million to advertise, Toyota built a car that was seen as a way to challenge the gas guzzling big three, and the media bought it. And so again, that was Toyota's advertisement. So all the press releases and the media coverage, they didn't necessarily advertise the Prius on TV or radio or whatever. They advertised it through the media, and they just sold it at such a low rate that people bought it. GM couldn't keep up because the technology was more expensive. Toyota had profitability elsewhere, so they just ate the costs, and they just wrote it off as, look, this is the Prius is an advertising campaign, and then it stuck. That's according to Bob Lutz, who in the book addresses, he's like, actually General Motors had the technology first. It's just that, you know, no matter what, GM could never keep up after that.
Yeah, Toyota used it as a loss leader.
Yes, absolutely. You know, and it worked in their favor tremendously. And the interesting thing, and when I worked on Chevy truck teams, so we went around to a lot. It was an experiential marketing program. We went anywhere you could put a Chevy truck or an SUV, IndyCar races, NASCAR races, state fairs, trade shows, you know, and you look at the fuel economy ratings of a Chevy, and I'm not picking on Toyota. I like Toyota, so this isn't that. But if you look at the fuel economy ratings of a Chevy Tahoe versus a Toyota Sequoia, or a Chevy Silverado versus a Toyota Tundra, like Toyota trucks and SUVs have terrible fuel economy. Like,
I'll agree to that.
Yeah, and it's like, and again, it's nothing against Toyota. It's just that GM and Ford in trucks and SUVs they're way more efficient than Toyota trucks and SUVs are. But in the public mindset, everybody's like, oh, Toyota has the Prius. They must be the most fuel efficient brand out there. And GM and Ford are the bad guys with their gas guzzling trucks and SUVs. Meanwhile, Toyota is making money hand over fist on the same types of products. So
it's called planting a seed.
My Toyota pickup on a full tank of gas, my Toyota pickup went like 380 miles a tank.
Right.
And my GMC goes 530.
Yep.
There you go.
Big a tank too.
Yep.
Slightly bigger tank. I had a 28-gallon tank in the Toyota. I have a 33 in the Chevy.
Yep. So again, not picking on Toyota here, but it's like what the Prius did is the Prius in the media sold Toyota as this incredibly fuel efficient brand. Except here's the thing: what has always led the sales charts in the United States? Trucks and SUVs. Toyota is still selling more trucks and SUVs than they are the Prius.
Right.
You know, so they're still selling more vehicles that get worse fuel economy. So it's
called win-win-win.
Exactly.
Well, again, it's all on marketing. It's that marketing, and once you have a great marketing department, they part the seas. You walk the line, and no matter what, again, half these people. I can't remember what it was. It was one of these things on Motor Trends. Yep. Was that guy, that didn't even have a car, but he got everybody to invest in it because, he knew how to market it, and here, I think there was only something like 16 of these cars made or whatever in the 80s or whatever it was. Again, if you got the market and the media and unfortunately us as humans, we're too stupid we'll bite the apple, and you're going along for the ride. I mean, there's a few of us that will try to kick your friend off of it, but they'll swear up and down by it.
Yep, that's it.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is why
Like the Democratic National Campaign.
Which is why
A lot
those
of
of us in the automotive media have to be very careful about how we communicate the information. You know what I mean? Because the problem is that you do end up with too much sensationalism. You end up with misinformation. You know, the right messaging isn't out there. And you see this a lot with electrification and autonomous vehicles, right? You know, and again, not picking on the automakers here, but the automakers make it worse because they put out these unrealistic timelines. Oh, it'll be like 4 or 5 years ago. And Ray, I know we have talked about this a ton on your show, you know, on Motormouth Radio, but it's like, if you look at all the press releases automakers were doing in 2015, 2016, we should have had fully autonomous cars by now, because 2020 or 2025 at the latest was the deadline. So when all of the, and again, I'm not picking on anybody and I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but now automakers are doing the same thing with electrification. Oh, by 2025, by 2030, by 20, and it's like, we saw this with autonomous vehicles. Like, it just didn't happen because you get into this and you realize, hey, there's more use case. There's more use cases and situations than what we realize. And a really good example we just talked about. Hey, I'm interested in an electric vehicle. I totally would own an electric vehicle, except I have a boat and I have a 24-foot enclosed car trailer. Sorry, I need a truck and I need gasoline or I need diesel, right? So it's like the 2025 timeline for electrified vehicles doesn't work for me. Doesn't work at all. You know, so it's like, as far as consumer adoption goes and getting everybody all on the same page by certain years, it's just, I just don't think it's as cut and dry as the automakers want us to believe. By this time, it's going to be this, going to be this, going to be this. I just don't see that.
Yeah.
Well, that's when they get into
Go.
That's when you get into the legislation of problems where, like in California, they say, well, you can't have a truck older than 5 years age.
What?
And then they cut out, and then next thing you know, people are but they don't have the answer, like you said, Carl, on the other side. So then, okay, now we don't have any trucks to move product or to carry, or we can't deliver. What are we going to do? Right. So it's somebody, pushing towards one thing, but not having the base for the other, or not even the answer, but the base for the next thing. So they're going to make, okay, well, it's like now, we got going on here about, age of gasoline cars or whatever. They don't want on the road now at all.
Right.
And that's how they're pushing towards that 2025 limit or timeline or whatever. And they'll get it cleaned up, and then they realize, well, what are we supposed to do now?
Right. And with the, and again, electric vehicles and autonomous vehicles are different, but again, I see the same kind of thing. It's like we're going up this hype cycle, and we're getting, it's actually called the Gartner hype cycle. This is a real thing in engineering. This is a real thing in economics, but you sort of ride this wave, and you end up on top of this peak of innovation, and everybody's riding this wave all the way up. And then the line actually drops down, and it's actually called the trough of disillusionment is the name of it. And it's where you kind of go over the mountain and you're like, wait a minute. This is going to take way more work and way more time and way more energy than we thought. That's where we're at with autonomous cars right now.
We're in that where I get myself into phase.
Exactly. Where it's like, hey, it looked really good for the marketing videos to have these autonomous cars driving around. But what about for people like me who live in Michigan and it snows, or we get a lot of heavy rain, and you're behind somebody and it kicks up all the dirt, and then all of your cameras and sensors are obstructed because they can't read anything because they're dirty, right? That's a conversation we weren't having 4 or 5 years ago, right?
Right.
That changes the dynamic. So my question is, again, not to be a negative Nancy, what things like that exist within electrification that we go, oh, whoa, wait a minute, that's going to push the timeline back. Didn't think of that, right?
Right.
There's
and the only way that you can solve that whole issue is if you like stepped into a sci-fi movie where
Right.
every vehicle is controlled through a central database, cloud, whatever.
Now you have
So-
a cybersecurity issue.
That
Right.
sounds like 2001.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Inside of
you
here.
have all these cars, and you probably don't even own them.
Right.
You just get in and you go, and then you
Yeah.
get out, and somebody else gets in, and it's like a whole world full of electric
They
taxis.
rented an Uber.
Yeah.
Right?
City bike.
Yeah.
But as Robert, and I like what Robert's saying here, working at a GM plant in Michigan. I mean, if you look at the plants, or like Dearborn Truck is a great example of this, but so is Wayne Assembly, where they build the Ram. It's not about looking pretty. It's not about impressing anybody. It's about getting vehicles out like as fast as possible. So automakers look at this electrification thing and they're like, all right, let's get it going. Let's get it going. We want 40% of our lineup to be electrified by 2030. Let's go. Let's crank it out. Let's keep moving. So it's, they don't stop. They just, if they can get more product out, that's what they push. And sometimes I think they push probably a little too fast, little too hard, little too much.
So I just thought I just read something about, I don't know, whatever year, 2030, California, you cannot buy, you can only buy electric cars. I don't know if that means no diesels also, but I mean, what if you're someone that travels and I mean, you can't drive it cross country in an electric car without stopping them 1,000 million times. And then 18 wheelers. And I mean, I just can't see it all happening. I mean, reality, eventually it has to, but there's got to be like this fine line throughout.
Right.
But
But it's
the infrastructure.
infrastructure is a huge thing. And when one of the times in my life where I really learned the most about cars was being a service advisor and just dealing with everyday people, right? And everyday people have a vehicle and they maintain it. And they make it last as long as they possibly can because new ones are so expensive. Now, keep in mind, this is back in 2011, 2012. So this is already 10, 11 years ago. Cars are more expensive today. But most people think kind of on a margin. They go, okay, I've bought a vehicle. I'm going to do everything I can to maintain it. I'm going to make it last. I'm going to drive the wheels off of it. That is really the norm for most people. So now suddenly somebody who has a 6 or 7 year old vehicle, and they're doing all their due diligence for maintenance, which we talk about on Motormouth Radio all the time. And now you're forcing them to buy a new vehicle that is more expensive. There's no consideration given of whether or not they could afford that vehicle because new vehicles are expensive. Or if they even have the ability, like if you live in an apartment and your apartment doesn't have a charging structure, then guess what? Like, what do? You have to have a gasoline car.
Well, as the person that one of my customers has the first electric gas station.
Oh, wow.
On the East, he's got the first electric gas station. He took a gas station, pulled the tanks out of the ground, and converted it to electric charge. And he's the first one on the East Coast. Actually, he's the first one in the United States that has this.
How did he figure out how to charge for the charge?
Well, it's based off of your it's
Kilowatt hours, I guess.
it's a kilowatt hours, and he's
So I guess
one of
it's
the
on
first.
draw. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I said, he's got the charging station, he's got all the adapters, and of course, like everything else, government control. The charging plugs were supposed to be standardized, and of course, Tesla came out with their own that cost $875. They're already starting to make their own connectors. So now you got to have 4 different connectors when you're traveling these places instead of just having a universal bit. But again, and it's funny because Doley that did this is setting the path, but he's like 10 years before anybody else and because, he gets a few cars comes in and they sit there and it takes 20 minutes and they're
So
charging away, you know.
I guess he's not buying a lot of Matco tools these days. Huh?
Actually, he's one of my best customers. So
Really?
I mean, they still have a garage and they still do automotive repair
Around the back, go around
on
the
the
back of the
backside.
big area.
Wink, wink. I know a guy in the alley. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But again, you know, that's the infrastructure that we're talking about. But of course, I do think it's kind of comical that this guy goes to the city of Tacoma Park and projects this, and they go for all this, and he gets all this, and then the city itself, right around the corner from him, puts in 4 or 5 electric charging stations.
Yeah.
For this guy can't, you know, again, you know, this guy's setting the path or creating a way that ever is going
Trailblazing, yeah.
and then here we go. The government has to get in there and stuff to make sure he doesn't get the money or the ability to do that.
They don't have to create the better idea. They just have to steal it and capitalize on it. That's all.
Yeah.
That's.
But again, that's the infrastructure John's talking about, and that's eventually what's going to take, because he gets phone calls from all across, you know, people in California, New Jersey, New York. He gets these phone calls from all these shop owners saying, how much, the first word out of their mouth is, it's not how much it costs. How much money are you making?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And, you know, he's not making anything really on it. It's paying for itself.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he's the only one. And like I said, he has cars coming in. But that's the problem that anybody else has. It's like, why can't we get anybody to work?
I think the thing he's got to
Because they're not making
do
any
is he's got to put it in the cafe, so when people are waiting for the charge, they can go in and spend money in the store.
Well, you know, actually,
Yep.
I told Dolly that. I said, well, are you going to have a cafe or whatever? And, you know, this is Dolly himself. I've known him forever. I used to work at the dealership with him years ago. He's like, oh, no, I made it so that I wanted the people to go to other shops, other places in our town,
That's nice.
so that everybody will get a piece of the pie from this.
Right.
That's very altruistic, but
That's cool.
But
yeah.
then they turn around and now, you know, everybody wants to put a charging station in their place so that they can, you know, because of the money.
right.
And, you know, again, I think it's, you know, I guess it's a no-win situation or always a catch-22 somewhere there. But, you know, here he is looking for the community of building up and say, hey, you can go get a haircut, or you can go over and get a sandwich. You can charge up your car,
Yep.
having this
Yeah,
Hallmark fairy tale city. You know what I'm saying? But
the catch-22 is when the grid collapses because too many people are charging their cars and drawing off the teeth of the
Ray,
city.
did you send me a link about that stuff, or did I just see something?
You know, I can't keep track of what I send to everybody. I might have.
I watched a video where a guy breaks down this whole deal, and he
I
talks
just
about
posted that on that thing, Lewis.
how
Oh, yeah.
most homes only have like 100 amp service, and
Right.
if you got a Tesla, I think the Tesla deal needs like 60 or 70 amps
You do. My buddy just got a Tesla, and they had to upgrade the service at the house.
to
Yeah.
feed it properly.
Mhm.
So they're talking about like on a typical block that would say, let's just say there's 10 homes on that block, only
Yeah.
3 of them would be able to have a
Right.
Tesla because the main line coming in to power the block can't handle it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
this guy breaks the whole thing down, and he's like, you need to start over, and everything needs to change.
Yeah.
Whether you've got an electric vehicle or not, the community has to be completely upgraded. And it's trillions of dollars that these communities are going to have to lay out in order to satisfy what Washington says it should be.
Well, Scott put a link
Yeah, that
in
was a different
chat.
one.
Oh, it's a
Yeah,
different
and
one?
then he
Yeah,
breaks
it's different.
down. He breaks down like a gas-based car and an electric car, and like if you had to do a 200 or a 300 mile trip, how long is it going to take for you to do that in an electric vehicle where you know you got to stop and charge and the whole deal, versus a gas car where you're going to have to stop at the gas station for 7 or 8 minutes to refuel, and it turns out that the gas vehicle is like a gazillion times cheaper per mile per minute to drive and get where you got to go. The electric cars, they're just not there. This guy's like, give it 30 years, maybe. But
Right.
the timeline that they're looking to do, it's just not going to happen.
So
Hey
the
guys,
link
I
posted-
gotta jump ship.
All right.
Real quick,
no,
the link I posted has to do with gas stations converting to have electric charging and gas. The problem is people park there and it's not a quick 3-minute fill up your gas.
Right.
It's got to sit there, so it's taking up primary space that they can't, afford to do. But the thing's like 9 minutes long. It was on that chat. If anybody wants to take a look at that.
You know,
Yeah,
Louis,
yeah.
before you go,
Stations we have here have certain special parking areas just for electric. Even the shopping malls.
Yep.
There's
Yeah.
there's a
oh, I
mall
thought those were
that we have,
reloading areas in Florida.
Yeah.
Louis, before you go,
Uh,
there's history was made, and you're looking at it right here. 3 of the guys on this screen, excluding me, were on the Motormouth Radio Mother's Day show last Sunday.
When is that
Paul, John,
replay going
and
to go
Brian.
up?
Nice.
When is that replay going to go up
It's up.
online?
It's up. It's on
Oh,
our
okay.
website. Yeah.
I've been looking every night, and I'm like, I can't hear it because
Brian was the
I
lead.
don't
He
see it.
let us off.
Yeah,
I
I
I
didn't,
gotta
I
check
didn't
it
get to
out.
hear it.
The COVID brownie story. That was classic gold.
Oh my god!
All right, I'm about to go take a look at it. Matter of fact, I'll listen to it tomorrow when I'm working.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, Carl, I appreciate you coming on, man. You need to
Hey,
come on more
likewise.
often. Just come.
Okay. I end up I don't know why I always do. I work at night anyway, so but thank you for the text today. Yes, thank you.
You don't want to know, Carl, when in Michigan will it allow you to wear like something other than fleece? Like
Seriously, I'm
So
hoping
cold.
soon. Like seriously, like it's like the weather here is nuts. Like one day it's 80 degrees and the next day it's 30.
wow.
So in here, like I'll look at my phone and I'm like, okay, like it says 60 degrees. Like, is that a warm 60 degrees or is that a
Right.
cold 60?
It
Like,
could be a cold 60.
yeah, I
know.
don't trust it. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
you go out and you're like, oh, okay, I have a jacket on. I overdressed, but you'd rather take that risk because
Right.
you get halfway into your walking outside and then like the clouds come and then the wind picks up and now you're freezing.
Yeah. John, that's the temperature it is in my basement where I am right now. We're
Right now.
57.5 outside.
71
Yeah.
right now.
That's
That's
about where we're
fine.
at here too, Scott. We're at
Yeah,
57
We had
outside.
72 today.
Yeah, we're 54.
There you go, Brian. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
You poor guys.
But when you talk about wearing the fleece jacket there,
Oh,
it's
Ohio.
just too bad we can't have the beard that comes on and off. You know what
Yeah,
I'm
right.
saying? That's what I really want. I just want okay, it's warm. Okay, great. Oh, cold. Put it back on.
That's a great idea.
Velcro beard.
I just, and working from home, I'm just like, whatever, I'm like, it's too bad though. I would love that. I would,
Yeah. Right.
Not me. I'll cover up a whole bunch of ugly. So I got to keep mine on.
Enrico Suave over there. Listen to this guy.
All right, fellas. I'll see you guys next week. In
Yeah.
2 weeks,
One more-
we're gonna have chasing classic cars on.
One more thing,
Oh, cool.
Louis.
Wayne.
You made a post on Facebook that my wife showed me this week that was absolutely stellar. It was a fantastic post. It was a white guy and a black guy holding, like, shaking hands, and the message that you exuded with that post should be on billboards all across the country.
Yeah.
Why did I not see that in my news feed?
I don't know.
See the
I'll,
one with the leather.
I'll tag you on it. It's
Yeah.
I'm just so sick of the
Yeah. Me
you
too.
know. I don't
Do you
even get
remember it
started.
well? Do you remember it well enough to regurgitate it to say?
No.
Because I don't. I couldn't quote
Yeah.
it. But
Lewis, I don't have Facebook anymore. Like I don't have Facebook. So if you think of it, just send me a screenshot. I'd love to see it.
Okay, let me see if I can hold on there.
it was truly inspiring.
Yeah.
I got a lot of input on it. Let's see. I don't even know how to get to it. Wait a minute.
Just go to your page and then scroll.
Oh, that's how you do it.
Listen, I
Yeah.
put so much stuff on, man.
Yeah, but it can't be that far away.
It's one of those. It didn't matter what the color, as long as it was respect or something kind of.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It was just a couple days ago.
Love it.
You can't believe how much I share in a couple days.
Oh, yeah.
I think I saw
Okay.
it.
You're a Facebook whore, huh?
Yeah. Well, in between buses, when I pull in the bus station, I got 15 minutes, so I scroll
Oh
through.
yeah. Sure, there you go.
Yeah, right.
And then at the end of the week, he has that you spent 7 hours and 25
Yeah.
minutes a day
Yeah.
on the thing.
Yeah, you're
Mine doesn't show that. Thank God.
It's on there. No, it's on
Yeah.
there. If you scroll to your first page all the
yeah.
way down to bottom, it'll tell you your activity. It's
Oh,
just
really?
that some of them will, like I said, it automatically pops up on Sunday night that either you were up or down or how many hours. If I owned a shop, I would love to walk in and say, "Let me see your phone." And then
Yeah.
when somebody says they have 8-9 hours a day
Yeah.
is their average time
Wow.
on there, I say I like to take. I'm paying you to sit on the phone. That's the most disgusting number.
Yeah. All right, guys. I'll see you next week.
All right.
Yeah.
Lewis.
Take it easy.
Take her easy,
care,
Lewis. We'll see you, my friend.
All right. Everybody stay safe.
Yeah,
will
you
do.
too, man. You too. Thanks for the invite again.
Safe without a mask.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
See, like,
You guys see with the CDC, they're like, oh, if you've already had your shot, you don't have to wear a face mask now. I'm like,
You know,
Yeah.
we
Well,
went
they
All-American
bowed
Bur-
down to pressure.
we went to
There's a lot of
All-American Burger
states that you don't
yesterday.
have to have a mask.
This outdoor hamburger stand, my wife and daughter and I, and
Place is great.
it's an outside queue, so I wasn't wearing my mask, and everybody else is. And I'm getting these dirty looks from these guys, and there was a guy like right behind us, probably a little younger than me, but more decrepit looking. So, and he's at that look above the mask. He's looking at me because
Right.
and I'm like, I told my wife, I said, this thing ain't going on until I have to go in that building. I'm sorry, I'm outside in the free air and I'm vaccinated. It's like, So
Right.
I've
finally,
already told like 4 or 5 people that give me the stink eye.
well,
And I'm like,
yeah,
you're wearing a mask. You're protected. Shut
there
the
you go.
F up.
Well, you know what? I turned it on this guy because put the mask on and I turned and I looked at him and he's looking at me like he didn't know what. And I said, by the way, cool T-shirt, great band. He was wearing a Procol Harum shirt. The guy's eyes went like he didn't know, like tilt. He didn't know what to do because I just complimented his and I know what band it was.
And he probably doesn't know what the band is because he bought that at Goodwill.
Yeah.
Oh, it's vintage.
It's
Right.
trendy. Yeah.
Right.
Right? Probably. I bet he couldn't name one song from that band.
Right.
the point I was getting at was supposedly if you have been vaccinated, you could still get the virus from somebody. It probably won't affect you, and then you can give it to somebody else. So
There's all sorts of scenarios out there
and
that
now
I've
the
heard.
CDC is like, oh well, no, not anymore. I'm like,
Yeah.
so it's like
I'm tired of the backstepping and the explanations and the changing of the guard and all of this other crap.
Right.
And I'm like, you know what? Throughout this whole thing, I never had symptoms ever.
Me either.
I got my vaccination. Leave me the hell alone. I don't want to hear it. I'm done.
I don't want to get
Out
it.
of respect, if I go to a store and I see they've got the sign,
Yeah.
I put it on.
Sure.
And they all do. Yeah. Right. I do too.
That's it. I keep it in my pocket.
Yeah.
And that's the end of it. But now I noticed even this afternoon, a lot of the stores that I happen to drop into, the signs were gone.
Oh, okay. Well, Florida's a
So
little different. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they got the word, and nobody's wearing a mask in Florida. Hardly anybody, at least.
Right.
A lot of old geezers. I still see people driving cars wearing masks.
Oh yeah.
And they're all alone.
Right?
All the time.
I passed a guy today. I had to go see a friend, and I'm driving through his development, and there's a young guy, riding a bicycle, got a mask on,
Wow.
all alone, riding a bicycle, and I'm like, "You're an effing idiot." So, forget it.
The best advice I got on this was actually last week from my doctor. So I went in for just my yearly checkup and physical, and I had both shots, and and so I asked her. I was like, and I do, and I have good relationship with her. I trust her opinion, and I'm like, okay, so what now? You know, I'm like, I've got both of my shots. I still wear my mask. You know, I do work a lot from home. Many of the events that I attend are still not back in person yet, but they're going to be, like this summer and this fall. And I said, you know, what do you recommend? And what she told me is, she's like, this is what she said verbatim. She's like, you've got to live your life, Carl. She's like, what you have to do is this. She's like, you've got the vaccination. She's like, you've got your mask. She's like, you've done everything you can do. She's like, so now it's a mental health thing. She's like, you either start going back to auto shows and car shows, and you start going back to conferences like you used to. She's like, or you stay inside. She's like, so you really have to evaluate now your mental health and all of this. And she's like, she's like, at some point you just have to live your life. And I honestly, like, that was the best. I was like, great, got it, totally. You know.
And then she
But
said,
on another note, though, how do you know what the people are going to say that are putting these events on? I'm waiting to see what's going to happen at SEMA.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
so
that's a long way off.
Right.
And the country should be fully open by that point.
Right.
But is SEMA going to demand that you wear a mask walking around on the floor?
And the quantity of people in there, I mean, that's
my goal. After talking to her, the Chicago Auto Show they're doing an event, not quite the full scale like they do in February, but the Chicago Automobile Trade Association announced that they were doing sort of an abbreviated version of the Chicago Auto Show in July. I plan to go. It's, you know, like I always, every time when I go to the Chicago Auto Show, I travel by bus from Detroit because it is so cheap. And they have Wi-Fi on the bus. Like, I don't have to worry about parking my car. It's like $30 for a bus ticket down to Chicago and back.
Cool.
You know,
no brainer.
yeah. And so it's like, and they literally like the hotel is right there. The McCormick Center is right there. So, you know, so I'm like, after I talked to my doctor, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm vaccinated. I'm going to get on a bus. You know, I'll respect the mask guidelines, but I'm going to go back to living my life. Like, I'm not going to stay shut in forever. You know what I mean? Right. So that's how I look at it. You know?
Yeah, good.
Like,
I'm with you.
Amen.
You know,
things are pretty normal here. They've been that way for a while.
Well, the funny part, Saturday, John, I'll be down in Orlando. Our tool show is going on.
Awesome.
Go to White Castle.
So I'll try to.
It's
I'll
a
try to
3-hour wait. Don't
Really?
go to White Castle.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
It's
So mine is 3 hours.
but it's worth it.
The funny part
I'm not
is
waiting 3 hours. Not happening.
the funny part is the guys that are already down there at the convention, even though the convention doesn't start off until Saturday, or actually Sunday. They're down there earlier. It's outside of Orlando there, and they only let 3 people in the elevator, and everybody has to wear a mask inside.
Right.
Where's it being held?
Down at it's in Orlando. What's the hotel?
There's a boatload of them.
Yeah, I know.
How are you getting down there, Brian?
Well, oddly enough, we were supposed to drive. We were going to drive down. I was going to get done early tomorrow, and we were going to jump in the car and take off. And so we got, because of the pipeline situation and the
situation.
Well, the situation because of the pipeline and all the idiots. And of course, like, our area in Maryland is not connected to the pipeline. We don't get our fuel from there. Right. But there was such a mad rush. Everything here is empty. There is no fuel. There is no gas. I can get diesel.
Yeah.
But yesterday, the last 2 days, there's been lines and it was chaotic. And there's something like 37% now overnight. I mean, in one day, it's down to 37% with no fuel. Yeah. And I have an uncle in North Carolina. He lives out there, and they're still sitting at 75% with no fuel. Right. A lot of the places.
I got friends in Georgia can't get fuel.
Yeah. And so I got on and I talked to a whole bunch of our distributors throughout the East Coast area down there. and they were just talking about it. And so once we figured out, now if we still had the Excursion, which was diesel, if we had the Excursion, we'd probably drive, because on one tank we can make it from my doorstep to my mother-in-law's in Jacksonville on one tank. So that would have never been an issue. We could just drive that, but we don't have that anymore. And with with my wife's Explorer, you know, on the average of the 350 miles or whatever range or whatever, it would be every other state we would have to stop and fuel up, and we just can't take the chance of not having gas.
Right.
But
and Florida's been weird with the gas, because you know, when I saw this thing with the pipeline, I'm like, oh, wonderful. You know, I got guys that got to get out and do stuff. So I called my guys and I'm like, make sure you fill the truck. And this was before it got stupid. So the last 2 days, there's been scattered in our area.
Well, the
stations
pipeline
that are totally out. And then I come to find out last night on the news, the newscaster says, you know, Florida is not supplied by that pipeline.
Right. The only place is like up in Pensacola and the Panhandle.
Right.
Is the
way
only
up
place.
north.
Yeah, way up north. You guys get yours directly out of the Gulf.
Right. And Tampa has a port, and there's huge storage facilities there, and you see the trucks running in and out of there, all the different brand names 24/7. So we had stores in this area, gas stations in this area, that they had nothing but diesel. Now they're all back up and operating. Now today I had to drive to Fort Myers, all the way down south, and literally from Naples, you know, like up to Sarasota, everything's out of gas. Nobody had gas down there. And I'm like, thank God my truck gets, you know, it was full, and I get over 500, and I was only doing, you know, like 195-mile run each direction. So I was okay. But literally, like Bradenton and all of the cities that I, you know, that you, as I'm driving by, you see these gas stations off on the side, and there's no cars in them. There's just trucks, diesel trucks.
Well,
and that's it.
Again, the media came out and says, what impact does the pipeline have in our area? Stay tuned. Well, everybody panicked and ran out and bought gas.
Right.
It had nothing to do with this area.
Right. And I you know, I yell at the media, because really the media in Florida should have taken the responsibility and said, oh, yeah, there's a problem, but by the way, you don't have to worry about it unless you live in Pensacola, because it's not going to affect you. And then nothing would have happened here, and everything would have been normal.
Well, but then we couldn't see the great pictures and memes of people putting fuel in open tubs and in plastic bags. And
did you see that?
I saw the bag. The lady was filling the plastic bag and then double bagged it.
Yeah.
The most ironic part about all that, I mean, there's a federal law that a gas station is not to sell a person gasoline unless they have a DOT container.
Approved container.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. So you got idiots up here walking up there with they go in and buy a 5-gallon bucket, and they're filling gas up and putting a lid on it and putting it in their truck to drive around with. Now, why, you know, it all comes down to the almighty dollar. They rather make money instead of doing what they're supposed to do. And you have these idiots all running around here like that. All I know, with the luck of the Irish that I am, if I had to just fill my cup up so I can prime my carburetor, I'd have a $10,000 fine.
Right.
Because this isn't approved.
Right.
But you got idiots
probably eat it and melt right out of it.
Yeah, but you got idiots with bags and, you know, plastic containers.
I was amazed at the lady with the plastic tote that she bought at the hardware store.
On the ground. Like, how's she going to lift it? How are you going to lift that?
How are you going to lift it? And how are you going to seal that?
Actually, Jeep and Al sent that one to me. And I said, you know what? Even if she got it in the back of the car, just getting out of that driveway apron. That's
gas
it.
everywhere.
Over.
And then if she got it home, how are you going to get that in the car?
Yeah.
She's
I
got
know.
a pump.
Right.
I'm like, I don't understand people's logic.
And the best ever though, what's the average life of the gasoline? It really is only like 6 months, 7 months,
Yeah.
and it starts losing so much of its properties
Yeah.
that these guys filling up 55-gallon drums for what?
I saw a picture of a guy he had a trailer behind his pickup truck, and I have 2 of these. It's a giant plastic tote. It's like 260 gallons, and it's in a galvanized steel frame.
Yeah.
And they put soap, they put all different kinds of chemicals, and you can buy these things relatively cheap. And I bought a couple of them that had like some type of fruit syrup for making some sort of drinks. So we were able to rinse that out, and we literally had to use that to store large amounts of salt water to fill up this huge tank. And you can pick them up with a forklift. They're phenomenal for that. This guy was filling one of these things with gas from the pump.
Wow.
I'm like, I don't get it. I really don't get it.
So we have a computer chip shortage, a gas shortage, and a White Castle shortage. Apparently, am I? Like,
Well,
And
it's the
it's not
first
president
White
shortage.
Castle in Florida.
okay, okay. Well, that makes sense. So,
It's the first White Castle in Florida. It's in Orlando.
okay.
But there's so many Northerners that are craving that.
Yes.
That you can't get near that place for 2.5 to 3 hours.
Got it. Okay.
You know,
We don't
and
have
I
any
already
here.
told Ray, my wife buys me the frozen ones,
Yeah.
and it just takes a little bit of prep, and it's just as good as when you go and buy them fresh. You just got to know how to do it.
Ray have one under his desk there.
No, I dropped my cholesterol medication.
Speaking of White Castle,
I found a jelly bean.
Awesome.
yeah.
That might be the last one.
Right.
No, the bag fell over the other night, and I missed one. I was scooping them up.
Well, as long as there's not a White Castle shortage, you know.
Right.
I can deal with the chip shortage and the fuel shortage.
Yeah.
I guess.
There's another company down here, I think throughout the South, called Crystal with a K.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Very, very close to the same thing. It's
Yep.
that
We've got them here.
that gray, ugly looking meat with the onions on it and the same puffy bun.
Yep.
You know, they don't taste. I don't know. Maybe my taste buds have changed. I don't think they're exactly the same, but they're pretty close.
Right. Right.
I don't
Yeah.
eat them very often anymore. Anyway, there's so much other stuff to eat these days.
True.
You
Yeah.
know, there's like, it's crazy. You want something good? Go to Publix. You get one of their heroes.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
Is that a grocery store?
yeah.
It's like a CVS CVS Publix.
My
Walgreens.
It's a supermarket.
No.
Yeah.
My father lives in Delray Beach, and he's always talking about Publix.
Publix
It's-
is phenomenal.
Yeah, whenever I would try, like we don't have them here in Michigan. We have Kroger and
No.
Meijer, so Publix is like the equivalent of that for us. But
Right.
yeah, when I would travel and you know, like for auto show, and I was on auto show team and stuff, and I travel for work, I would always go to a Publix and get a few groceries and get sandwiches and all that stuff. You know, they're
They
awesome.
make phenomenal sandwiches.
Yes.
And you know what they make that's really good? They have a whole hot section, you know, where you could buy like a roasted chicken and the whole deal. Then they have these giant chicken fingers.
Yeah.
So what you do is they'll take those and they like crush them up, and they're breaded. They bust them into little pieces, and then they put them in a foot-long hero roll,
Nice.
and they mix it with red hot sauce. And then they take cheese and they put cheese over it and they stick it in the toaster and they melt it.
Oh,
And it's the most unbelievable buffalo chicken hero. It's just phenomenal. It's great.
Yeah.
Really, really
And-
good.
And no wonder why I gained weight during this whole lockdown.
Now, if you do catch last week's show, you'll hear that I end the bit with saying, "Yeah, follow John. He's the guy eats New York and Florida. He eats great." That was like
Yep.
the end line to that bit.
You know,
Yep.
that's so true.
I told Barb about that Italian place I found at Italian Market.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Ooh, we got to go there."
Sure.
So we're gonna check that out. I think this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, we pulled up their menu. It's just like the stuff up in New York.
Okay.
You could buy everything you need, your pasta, the whole deal, and then they've got prepared dishes, like walking into a typical Italian place.
Nice.
So I'm gonna give them a shot. See what.
Sure, you got to try it.
Yeah,
you got to try it. Yeah.
That's something that's hard to find because down here, the locals are like, "Oh, you one of them Italian guys?"
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Italian.
Yep.
Right.
I get it all the time. I mean, I've been here since 2004. I have customers that are like, "It's so cool. I got Tony Soprano doing stuff for me." I'm like, yeah, all right, great, thanks. So they seem to be mesmerized by the accent that just won't go away.
Right.
So I'm like, hey, that's okay with me.
No, my goodness.
All right, guys.
So-
I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
All right, Scott.
Take care, everyone.
Let me
I'm
know
gonna
when you get
sign off.
speakers in, and we'll work out an order.
Yeah.
Don't wanna
I'm gonna-
It's awful. I got to tell customers, sorry, I got nothing. It's bad.
Yeah. Let me know when you get them. I'll it's one of my things to do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need something to put in the Firebird.
Yeah.
I will tell you if I don't know if Crutchfield has, but Alpine makes what they call the Type R speakers. Prices actually just went up. Like a 6.5 used to be 200, went to like 300, and the components went from 3 to 400.
Wow.
But for the money, it's still a good sounding speaker, and you can run deck power. You don't have to run amplifier on them.
Nice.
So I don't know how much you wanted to spend, but they're a really good, smooth sounding speaker.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, take care, everyone.
All right,
Yeah.
Scott.
Take
All
care,
right.
guys. I'm
Take
gonna
it
sign-
easy.
I'm
Okay,
going to sign
Carl.
off as well. Gentlemen, I appreciate it as always. Thank you for the invite, the opportunity to come
Yes.
on and just talk. So it definitely means
Great.
a lot.
Yeah.
So-
Very good call.
All right.
Good
Take
night.
it easy,
Good.
fellas.
All right. Catch you
Yep,
later.
good talking to you.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Oh yeah. Boom. Now I'm in full screen and everybody's huge. Holy shit.
You.
Yeah.
You better work
I'm
this.
like, I can't even see myself. I got to move way over.
Yeah.
That's weird.
So
It
we ended up
splits
getting.
splits
We
it
ended
into
up getting.
three.
We ended up getting plane tickets. So we're gonna fly out early.
All right.
And,
Yeah, I was going to come back to that and ask you. So, what was the answer to that question?
Yeah, well, no, I came home and Jenny said we're going to fly. You know, originally you normally fly down, but they had me set up like on a layover and.
Oh God, I always fly nonstop, even if it costs $300 more.
Yeah,
I
well,
gotta
the problem was that through our expo planning, the travel department, you know, they said this was the flight. You know, this is what we had for the only flights that we had, and it was like
Right.
hop skipping 2 different places, and then like I had to fly into like up north in Florida, you know, like Pensacola, and then fly across over to Orlando, you know, and it was like Jesus Christ, I got 3 layovers.
12-hour day.
Yeah, well, and I know it sounds kind of funny. You're like, so you rather drive the 16 hours, but the other problem that we have is when we get down there, if you did not rent or set up for rental a car when you get down there, there's nothing down there because there's 1,800 other guys. You know, we have the convention center comes in and just not having a car. And of course, this has been postponed twice now, and dates have been moved. So we normally don't have a car. We usually hook up with somebody that does, or we do have a lot of family down there and try to get something. But so that's why we're flying into Jacksonville. That's where my mother-in-law lives, and we're gonna take one of her cars and come on down towards Atlanta.
That's not a bad ride.
No, we've done. I mean,
Cool.
we used to do Daytona all the time, and we did all stuff, you know. And so we'll have a car, so Jenny has stuff to do. I got a cram pack Saturday, Sunday, Monday for the convention. Tuesday we're doing Universal. We have Universal. They rented out Universal for us.
That's cool.
And then Wednesday we're coming home. I'm not going to stay the whole week. We normally stay the whole week down there, but just the way everything is.
All right, so I guess that answers the question. My buddy with the bad knees at the shop was busting my balls. When am I going to get my knee pad?
I know.
I'm like, look, I'll talk to Brian. I said, don't worry, I'll find out. So now I'll tell him, kneel on a brick.
Well, actually, I'm hoping when we get done here that I can kind of box some stuff up, and Brianna will take it up to UPS and try to get it out this week.
Okay. All right.
I can't remember. I don't have your list is out on the truck, but I got the ratchets all done, the new head and head kit, springs, everything. Yeah. I got that. Remember your 1/4-inch Father Day set?
Yeah.
That actually came in, so I have that. I got some socks for you.
The kneeling pad. What let me see.
Kneeling pad. I got a lot
of tools.
I got my new T-shirts finally came in.
Oh, good.
And some they got a 32 coupe on the back or
right.
32 hot rod.
Right.
So I got some new shirts. Got my new shirts.
Cool.
God, what else was there? Right, there was.
I don't know. I don't remember. That's over a week ago. I sent that to you. So you got the list.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to try really hard to get it all boxed up and labeled. Right. Hopefully, Brianna can drop it off. I know there's a couple.
Oh, well, that means if Brianna's dropped her off, make sure you get the brownies in there. Or else I'll be real pissed.
I tell you, that's been that has been on the niche. No more. We haven't had anything.
Really?
Yeah. I got your wrench extender. That other one that you showed me.
Yeah.
Out once before, and I want to tell you the problem with that is when you put it on the wrench, okay, and then you go to hook it's great with a long ratchet because you can lever, but it gets to a point where it starts to bend funny.
Oh, okay.
And then you're pushing it. You're not using the leverage.
Okay.
It bends, then you're pushing you're pushing it this way.
I had never seen that before, and it just popped up on an Instagram feed. So I figured, here we go. I mean, that looked nice because you could use any breaker bar or ratchet in the thing. You weren't limited to it. So just stuff that comes up, when you're cruising.
I've had that, or I've sold it, and then I go in and I see guys they'll have it on a wrench, and then they have the ratchet come out, and as soon as they pull up on the ratchet, it makes a V.
Yeah, it's not good.
So then they're like doing this, trying to
right.
And you lose all your leverage.
Right, that's not good.
Now, if you use a breaker bar and do it, I mean, like I said, every tool has its good points and its bad points.
Sure.
Especially sometimes they even get good if you use them wrong instead of using them the right way.
Right.
But that was one of the things I hated.
I'm in the middle of this my newest Ford conundrum with this freaking Mustang, and what I got to get some more. I lost along the way some of my good electrical tools. What I've been doing is jamming an alligator clip on the end of a test light so I could clip it onto something. There's something I got to engineer, and I got to get a couple of wire piercing, like they have in the Power Probe kit, so you can just pierce a wire and probe it. Because the Mustang, we did the brake conversion on it. I did that whole lead kit, right?
Yeah.
I pulled it in, and then I did the brake conversion. Then I went to start it 2 days later, and the key, it didn't do anything with the key. I'm like, what? So Mike's standing there. He's like, what? Is the battery dead? I'm like, hang on. I come around. I grab my fluke. I put it. No, battery's 12.4 volts. The battery's it's fine. I got power at the coil. I got power for the battery to the solenoid. I have nothing at the terminal on the solenoid that's activated when you turn the key to start. I'm like, so what the hell happened now?
Switch.
So I go into the car and I pull the switch out and I have it at the switch. It's a red with blue wire is what it is. So I had it there. I had it at the wire. And now I go back into the engine compartment, and I didn't have it because I'm probing these wires. I'm like, all right, I could go through this whole harness and find the bad wire, but in this harness already, there were that stretches across the driver's fender, there were 2 blue wire nuts taped into the harness. I was like, and I've been avoiding them. I'm like, all right, I didn't see that. I didn't see that. But when I pulled the switch out, of course, I found 3 more wires that this genius previous owner, I guess he changed the switch and he cut the wires, and his method of splicing was to take the wires, just twist them together, and then tape the shit out of it. And he did that with everything. So I'm taking all of that apart and fixing all of it. So I said, you know what? I'm running a new wire from the key all the way out through the firewall, right across the bulkhead, right across the core support, right over to the solenoid, which is what I did.
Does that have an MSD?
No.
Okay.
No, it doesn't.
All right.
So I don't know. The wire, obviously, there's a, but it's an old harness. So
on the Fords or on the Mustang, on all Fords, okay, on all Fords, on those old ones, they have a what's it called? A resistor in the wiring going to,
just like a GM, yeah.
Right. And a lot of times, a lot of guys, they'll hook up a MSD box or a coil, and they use that wire directly to it, and it's
no good.
12 volts, and they only have it down to 9 or 7 volts or whatever it is.
Right.
They're chasing a problem, and the car doesn't start, and they have issues and popping and pinging and blah, blah, blah.
That's to save the points, is what that's for.
Yeah.
In fact, on the Chevelle, and even on my car, I ran a relay and just ran, full system voltage through the relay. But on the Chevelle, I did same thing. I eliminated that wire because we did electronic ignition and just ran a, like a 12 gauge wire. So I'm hip to that. So it must have burned up. This harness is so fragile and so old. But I got that fixed today. So Derek, of course, he calls me over to show me all the great body stuff he does because he's very good. And I call him over to show him like this. I said, look, this is why guys shouldn't do electrical work. I said, not me, the other guy. I said, because guys like me got to fix it. I said, and it's a pain in the ass. I was MF and Ford's boy. I'm like, give me a GM again, God damn it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh my word! But I was using my headlight. I was using the light and to see through in the dash and all. I'm up under the dash, and I'm got to drill a hole to run the water because Ford again, like GM, you can usually get through a grommet to fish one wire. This car didn't have that, so I had to actually drill a hole above the fuse box, and then you'll see that's going to be my next post. And then I needed a grommet. I needed a grommet to put into the hole. But I didn't have my kit of grommets. I have them at home. So I'm going through all the body stuff, all the just extra wiring, and I found a grommet that had a cone on it. I was able to cut that off and use that to. So like Derek asked me, what are you going through all the, I said, listen, you can't. I said, you can, but you should never pass a wire through a bare hole. I said, because it's going to abrade and and this is a power wire, so you got to have a grommet. I said, it'll take me an extra hour to get this done because I can't find what I'm looking for, but I can't put this together the wrong way. I just can't do it.
Do like they did on my other car.
No, geez.
I found
can
pieces
imagine.
of fuel line through metal with the wire going through it. I found vacuum hose with a single wire going through it.
At least they used something non-conductive and rubber.
And then I found silicone.
Yeah.
Just shove the wire through and squeeze silicone and move it with your finger. And
and I guess I got to say, at least this guy used wire nuts on the 10 gauge power feed. At least he used something electrical, but that's not the way to work on a car. There's a listen, I'm a rocket scientist, and there's just a right and a wrong way to do stuff. And it really amazes me. Just amazes me.
That's my life, is cleaning up a lot of stuff that somebody shouldn't have done.
Yeah, exactly.
I get a laugh out of it though.
I get a lot of laughs. And now I get to post it on, Instagram.
I'll be making some posts with the with the garbage. I
Yeah,
made a couple
yeah.
of posts on some pictures and things like that.
Well, it's good with Instagram. You can put 10 pictures up.
Yeah, I know. That's pretty cool.
That's nice. And you can even put little short videos up.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did. One of the posts that I made, I accidentally hit a video where the
Uh-huh.
body guy walked around the car.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, that don't work well on Facebook, but maybe it'll
No.
work here, and it did.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Right.
Very, very
Yeah.
lenient in terms of what you can post out. How
So-
you can post.
Between the Audi insanity with this freaking car and the old Ford just dementia of the wiring, I was like, Jesus, man, I need a break. I gotta. Grand National's next. Gonna do the brake,
Yeah.
the whole brake conversion on that. He bought a booster and a master for the Grand National, so that's next.
Wow.
But this lead stuff, this lead company that I sent you the link to, very nice stuff. They're up in Buffalo, well-made stuff. The funny thing was, I bust Mike's balls all the time because I told him, like, at his main shop, the body shop, when my car came out of there, even the first time for the first go around, I'm putting stuff back on the car, and I'm like, why aren't my tools fitting? And I'm like finding metric bolts all over the car. It's like it's a 65 Pontiac. You don't put metric bolts on a fucking 65 Pontiac. So I'm always busting shops. He goes, oh, well, that's all we got over there. I'm like, well, what about the bolts that came off the car that were American? Where'd they go? So I had to tell him, like, Mike, you're going to love it. You're going to think your car was built in the other shop. Why? I said, because these lead brakes, I said, I'm getting my tools ready, and they use nice washer nuts with like that on the back of the washer nut, they have like little hash marks that'll bite into the metal.
Yeah.
There's a name for that. I don't remember what it is.
Yeah.
So there's 5 nuts on the booster that go as it goes through the firewall in the compartment side, and then there's the 2 nuts that hold the master to the booster. And the reason I couldn't find, because they used metric nuts. So there were 12 millimeters on the inside and 15 on the outside. So I said to them, well, keeping in with the rest of this stuff, you're getting metric bolts because that's what they gave you.
That's terrible.
But the product is very nice, very well made. Happy with it. Nice stuff.
So I recently met a guy that has one of those vibration tumbler deals.
Oh, yeah. I have one of them. Yeah.
He's
Eastwood.
It's like no. This is a big commercial one.
Okay. Yeah.
He machines parts and then he puts it in. This thing's like, it's like a giant circular thing loaded with those stones.
We had one at the
They're like-
auto electric shop. That's how we did these
Yeah,
starters and
yeah.
alternator bodies.
He was like, bring me all your original equipment, old hardware.
Yeah.
He goes, I'll stick it in there and it'll vibrate it around and tumble it and get all the crud off it. He said, and it'll be like awesome, super nice clean. And I'm like, oh, wow.
Right. Nice.
Yeah. So I'll have some good, clean, like original bolts.
Yeah.
That if I wanted to use them for something, I have them.
Yeah, I've got one of those barrels, or it's I don't know, it's probably 12 inches across,
Right.
it's 8 inches deep, and it vibrates. And I just dumped everything in there, turned it on, and it will come back at the end of the day, and it's really amazing. I did my BBS wheels that way.
Problem is, when I got mine, I looked at some videos and stuff and followed what some guys were saying who use them in shops. And they said, the thing is, if you use this thing, you're going to love it. And then what you're going to have to do is you're going to buy 3 of them, because you're going to, instead of switching
Different
the
grits.
media, you're going to want to have one for each media.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I see why, because it was a pain in the ass to switch all the freaking media out of it.
Yep.
Yeah. Those were did you have the one that has like the little diamond rocks in them?
I have like 3 or 4 different types of media. One is like, there's a brown media, green media. I got one. It's almost like sand to do like micro polishing.
Yeah.
I haven't used it since like last year. I have it out in the garage.
I ran a whole bunch of stuff through it.
Yeah. This guy's got a few of them, and there's different grits, and then some of them he uses just for steel based, some for aluminum based, some for titanium.
Yeah.
He's a machinist, and he's got.
Yeah,
he
when
does
you do
all
it like
kinds of
that,
crazy
you
stuff.
got to have separate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but it's really, I mean, it really does. I found my old brass uh, container from my parents' house. I had all the brass fittings from doing the oil gauges and
Yeah.
water
Yeah.
line, and it just from sitting, I dumped that in there. Man, they look brand new, dude. I mean, it's just incredible.
Right.
It's not just over. It's not a 5-minute thing, It has to.
Oh, I know. That's what I dipped into when I was trying to fix that valve on my carburetor agitator. I used an old oil pressure fitting.
So hopefully, I'll see Luke and Eddie.
Yeah, Eddie Lyle. Yeah.
Eddie and Luke. They've been texting me back and forth saying, they can't wait to meet. And
Great.
Luke's. I don't know if he was in a meeting, but he's like, "Hey, what about this idea? Let me hold on. I got a guy." And he texts me, "What do you think about this?" Well, this is what I think. I don't know. I shouldn't be making decisions like this, but okay.
Right. Now, Luke is a cool guy. He was on Jersey Discount Tools on that guy, Nick.
Yeah, that guy.
He did a video with him about a week ago. Yeah, Nick is, they want to get him on the show too, but it'll probably be okay because he can't bang anything.
But, dude, you got to watch him.
Yeah. I have to read the riot act first. Mm-hmm. That whole thing. I mean, I would love. I watch his videos. I don't watch all of them because truthfully, it gets to me. It annoys me after a while. It's like, stop that. Just stop
Shut
that.
Up.
No, he can rant.
My cat.
No, but John,
I'm yelling at the cat.
Oh, you're saying, okay. He has this habit of whatever tools in his hand, he bangs on the counter, and he used it to accentuate his talking points. I'm like, all right, already, I get it, man. I know you're a Jersey Italian, but dude, stop.
Cat, shut up, cat. Get in the house.
So yeah, well,
have you ever spoken to Nick?
No.
Okay. Yeah, Luke gave me his contact information too, and I've been watching his videos, and other guys that I watch him, and I know that he's the real deal. He has a truck, and he also has He has the store, but he's a lot of times he really slams on Snap-on a lot. He really does. He's like, yeah, he goes, you can buy this product, or he goes, you can give 4 times the amount to that guy in the white and red truck.
Well, we'll have to talk off air.
Yeah, good idea. That's probably a good idea. As with a lot of conversations, are always best held in private.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Well,
I'm gonna hit the road.
Yeah, good enough, Johnny.
I got some stuff to do tomorrow morning.
Yeah, we had went out for a big anniversary dinner tonight, so I am so freaking stuffed.
Oh yeah.
I can't wait to go to sleep. Sleep it off.
I still got a little bit of paperwork to do.
Yep. Gotta get ready. I gotta get ready for Expo. I got so much. It's just I'm gonna be pulling all nighter and probably tomorrow too. So
wow. All right. Well, yeah.
Get ready.
Get it done so you can get out and have some fun. All right, guys. Well, I'll catch up to you when our paths cross.
Awesome.
Sounds good. And hopefully, like I said, I get if not everything, a good part of it boxed up and get one thing out to you.
Yeah, at least get the other guys' stuff out to me. This way I can give it to them and keep them happy, and I can wait.
Yeah, that's how. And like I said, I just got to gather everything up. I've had a couple interesting days between the gas shortage and people acting like idiots and.
Yeah, this is one that we dodged the bullet up here. It's like, my wife said to me, "Have you seen?" I'm like, "Haven't seen? No, there's no lines up here because we got gas." It's like I'm surprised we didn't get bit, but we didn't.
Yeah, no, it's just the last 4 days has just been a shit show. So it's been really great. People watching. If like I said, you go grab a sandwich and and a drink, and you sit back at the park bench and watching people.
Right.
Really been interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right, guys.
All right,
I'll try to message you, John, when I'm down there. Like I said, I love to try to run in. I mean, like I said, I know we're going to be kind of a car issue problem, but like I said, if there's any way, I'd just love to give you a thump, and say, hey. So,
that's it, man. But, I'm 40 minutes away from there.
Okay. Well, like I said, hopefully it's not too, like I said, I don't even know, from what I've understood from this tool show, that's a whole, like I said, they're talking about running stages and limiting our time, and you got to wear a mask and be in an oxygen suit, and
yeah,
be tested and
bring a respirator.
I don't know. Oh well, I gotta
All right.
button up. I gotta.
All right. So for Lewis Lee and Playing in Traffic, Ray Guarino, Matt Goman, Brian, Chassis John, we're signing off. We'll be back next week.
Be safe.
See you guys. All right, guys.
Later.
Bye-bye.